bring on a generational wealth vet, Mr. Cole Compton, who tore down the stage last year. How many of y'all saw Nicole last year? How many of y'all saw Nicole last year? Did she bring it? Did she bring it last year? Put some fire in the chat. Put the I don't know how to do fire from a keyboard, but I know how to do it from my phone. Nicole is here, and you know, this is generational wealth and we have to know how to turn the wealth that we've created within our lifetime into wealth in the future, right? And pass it on from generation to generation. And the tool, one of the key tools to do that is wills, estates, and trust. And Nicole is an expert in these areas as well as many others. She understands the letter of the law. I think that's what they call it. And so we don't have her on stage because she's powerful. If you experience her energy, she's powerful, but she's going to bring it to you from her home office today and let y'all know what's up. It is Sunday. She might preach on y'all. So Nicole, I'm gonna pass it to you. We're so glad to have you back.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you good to go.
All right. So I'm actually on the road. I stopped in Savannah, Georgia to see my sister. And so I'm not in my home office. And I also feel kind of awkward because I like to stand up. I like to see you guys. And you know, my energy is crazy because I'm crazy sometimes. I like to be real. So I decided I'm not gonna do PowerPoints for you all. However, I will, I do have a treat for you guys, and I'll make sure that Julian, you get the info so that you can give them the freebies, because I like gifts and I like surprises and freebies. So I try to come with gifts and surprises and freebies. You all, today will be no different, okay? All right, so let's get to it, family. All right, so the way that I want to do this is I'm going to give you all an overview, and I'm going to try to do it in a fun manner. And at the end, I will leave time for questions. So if you have questions about anything that I said during this presentation, then you'll be able to ask questions. But I'm going to try to stay within my time. I'm going to try to keep it live and fun. And we'll go from there. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Nicole Compton. I am an attorney and also a business consultant. I help people get their businesses started. So today I am going to talk to you, my millionaires, because I believe that all of us have the right, and I want you all to have the tools, not only to be millionaires, but to keep your money. So here we go. My disclaimer, because as an attorney, I always have to give the disclaimer because, you know, at the end of the radio commercials and stuff, and you hear them say, oh, blah, 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 blah. That's because attorneys, not only do we help make the world go around, but we complicate things. So as an attorney, I have to give my disclaimer. I am not your attorney unless you pay me and we have a contract. It's not that I don't love you or I wouldn't want to be your attorney. However, if you haven't hired me to be your attorney, then the advice that I'm going to give you today is for informational and educational purposes. And because I'm not your attorney, you should contact your attorney or an attorney who can give you individualized information. The educational information that I give you today is so that you can arm yourself with knowledge so that when you do seek professional help, that you will know the right questions to ask. I put this spin on it too. So before I became an attorney, I had to hire an attorney. And I know that as an attorney, we are what is called Juris Doctors. That's the degree that we get. So just like you have a medical doctor who is experienced and licensed in medicine, and a dental doctor who is experienced and licensed in dental work, attorneys were licensed in law. So while you can do some medical and some dental stuff yourself, you cannot do it all. So if you have a kid and they have a little tooth that needs to come out, you might tie the string around it, or do like my dad did, put us in the headlock and pull it out. But if you're like me, I have to get dental surgery next week to get an implant, then you're gonna go to the dentist go get that help. Attorneys in law are the same way. There are certain things that you can do yourself, but don't try to do everything yourself, because some things really do require that expertise of an attorney. Estate planning is one of them. So I will tell you stories as we go, as to people who try to do it themselves that I know, and how that didn't quite work out like they thought it would. All right, so moving right along, some of the things that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to give you really an overview. It will be a bird's eye view of estate planning, but we're going to cover, we're going to cover these things. We're going to talk about lessons about wills and trusts, letters of instructions, probate court, non-probate asset protection, such as insurance and IRAs and things like that, business succession, because like I said, you all are millionaires. I expect for you to also have some kind of business venture or passive income, and I want you to know how to protect that. Retirement, healthcare needs, custody, power of attorney, things like that. All right. So the reason I started doing estate planning, because my passion, like I said, I'm an attorney. I do litigate. I've been to court. I do all kinds. I work for myself. I've had firms, and I do a little bit of everything, or I did. Now my focus is mostly on business, but I never gave up on estate planning and probate, because what I find is our people do not do it. And so I dedicate every, or at least give honor to Jamila, which is my best friend who passed away, because she is the one who made me realize that estate planning is needed and that our community does not do it. Jamila, at the age of 28, found out that she had breast cancer. She had a double mastectomy at 28. They gave her 6 months to live. She lived 6 more years. And while she was alive, she came to my law office when I first set it up. And she said, Nikki, I don't ask you for much, but I need something from you. And it's very important. And so all she wanted was for a couple of hours of my time to sit down and put together an estate plan packet. We did her will, power of attorney, trust, everything for her. And so with that, I was able to help her family. So when she passed away, everything was great. Her family was able to enjoy her. Her family was able to celebrate her life and not stress out about how to find where her bills was, because after all, as a Black women, we usually hold it together. Let's just be honest. We hold the family, the community, everything together. And so when she passed away, she had a husband and 2 young daughters. But because we did the packet for her, her husband didn't have to try to figure out where stuff was, how to pay her bill, how to pay the bills, where her information was for insurance policy or anything. Sister girl had it planned down to what songs she wanted. So I always, give honor to her for teaching me that lesson of how valuable it was. Now, my grandkids are what I call my downline. And so I'm young, 41, and even in early 40s, I know how important it is. And if you don't know how important it is, I can tell you one thing, 2020 should have taught you that life is unpredictable, because I know for me, I didn't see that one coming. And I had a lot of people, including my pastor, who passed away last year and did not have what they needed in order. And so I've had clients and friends who have come to me ahead of time, and their family is able to grieve them properly, not be broken up because of fights and not knowing what to do. And then I had other people who I kept telling, you need to get this done, you need to get this done, who didn't and felt the ramifications. And I also have clients who thought they were going to do it on their own, and it's okay to do it on your own, but didn't try to do complex trust and things like that, and did not have any attorney or professional or tax professional go back and look over what they did. I don't want you all to be like that. We're better than that. Let's keep our money in our pockets in our community. And so I believe that estate planning is necessary if you are going to be truly wealthy. Now, most people are like, oh, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot to, I don't own my house, or I don't, I don't have very much, or I only have a life insurance policy, so why should I even try? I'm letting you know that even if you have $10,000 or less, you have your car and the clothes on your back, that if you don't plan on how to get that to your kids, your downline, or your family, they're going to be scrambling. They're going to be trying to figure out what to do. But even more importantly, if you make a little bit of money, Uncle Sam wants his cut of a little bit of money. If you make a lot of bit of money, he wants that. And if you are a millionaire like I want you to be, he's going to be snatching that too. He's going to be dumping you out trying to get all your money, right? I believe in paying taxes, but he's not going to get a dime more than what he should out of me and my family, and you all of my family. So instead of me preaching, because yes, it is Sunday and I know I preach, we're going to have fun. Because of my grandson, I have custody of my 6-year-old grandson. He likes to tell stories. We're actually writing his little book line. And he always says, Nana, can you tell me a story? So today we're going to do the ABC of estate planning, but we're going to do it with story time and nursery rhymes. Okay? So here we go, because this is how I would do Abel. His name, well, I call him Ace. I would tell Ace, get in the bed. He'll pull his cover up to here. Okay, Nana, you're going to tell me a story? And I start my story. And this is how he does it. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there lived a little girl named Nana. That's how he would tell it. But I'm going to do it this way. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there lived a future Black millionaire named you. So listen up, and no, you cannot get out of bed to get water for the 10th time. Swallow your spit. I'm joking. All right, so the first story we're going to go through is London Bridges. London Bridges falling down, falling down, falling down. Y'all know the story. London Bridges falling down, my fair lady. So it sounds fun, and it sounds, it's a kid's story, so it's like, whoo. However, London Bridges is not fun at all. What London Bridges shows us is that death is inevitable. So you may, not everybody in this life will be a millionaire, but everybody in this life will die, right? And then you have Ring Around the Rosies, a pocket full of Ozies, we all fall down. We all fall down, you all. We all will die. The difference is going to be what you do. So with London Bridges, there is unpredictable circumstances, and with Bring Around the Rosies, we all will die, okay? But we're going to be smart. So that takes us to the 3 little pigs. Y'all know the story about the 3 little pigs. You have one that built their house with straw, one that built it with clay, and one that built it with bricks. All 3 of them had a house. All 3 of them were pigs. They were brothers, but the first pig didn't plan very well. He put up some stuff real quick with some hay and some straw, and you see what happened. It all went away. He basically threw all his money out the window, all his time and his effort. Because why? He was too lazy to plan. But then you had the one with clay. He was like, I'm going to be a little bit smarter. But he still didn't take the time to really protect what he put, right? All right. So he didn't take the time to put what he built, and his stuff fell as well when the wolf came, and the big bad wolf ends up coming, right? And yeah, you are right. It is the Ring Around the Rosie is about plagues. So then you have the one who built the fortress, and he was sitting back. He was like, "Come on, wolf, do what you got to do. Because you know what? I planned for success. I planned for what could happen, and I wasn't lazy about it. So do what you got to do. You can go ahead and blow. Your jaws are gonna hurt because mine ain't falling. And if he was like me, he would have his little baby desert eagle in the house sitting there like, come on through this door, right? He would be ready for him. Step on my property, I got you. That's how I need you all to be about estate planning. And so estate planning can take the form of many different things. And so it's not always just you got to have a will, but you do want to have a will. You want to be able, the least you can do is to try to have a will. If you aren't ready to do a trust or anything beyond just a simple will. In most states, you can do what's called a holographic will, where you can handwrite it and sign it. I don't suggest that. I suggest having it at least typed up, have two people watch you sign it. And you know what, you all don't hide it. Let people know where your will is, who has it. I always keep a copy of my clients in my office, and I also give them a copy because it doesn't work if they don't know where it is. I had a really close friend of mine that was a prominent member in the community who passed away. His first wife died. He got married again right before he died. They did stuff where they bought property and cars and house together and all of that. And when they did, they couldn't find his most recent. He didn't come to me either. He went to a white guy, and so that guy is missing. But the older will was from like 2001. So his new wife has to, the way that it was written is everything to his kids. Even though his new wife put everything together into his property, put everything together, she ends up losing out because they can't find the old will. So we're not going to do that, okay? So we're going to be like the pig with the brick house, and we're going to make sure that we have at least a will in place. But if you don't have a will, I'm going to introduce you to something that's even easier than that. It is a precursor to a will, and that is what's called a letter of instruction. I realized this here recently. One of my radio shows I did was on the letter of instruction, and people were a lot more likely to do that. And don't be scared to start. Don't be scared to do something.
So the letter of instruction, I was going to leave to the end, but I'm jumping ahead, so I'm going to let you know. With a letter of instruction, basically, it is you sitting down, and I will give you all for free a template for a letter of instruction so that you can print it out, fill it out, and if nothing else, you can have that. And then when you get ready to do your estate plan, you can take it to your attorney, or you can base your estate plan on it. Essentially, what a letter of instruction is it's a packet that you put together, and it tells your family and your loved ones all about you. It tells them if you have a life insurance policy, if you have a will, where your social security card, birth certificate. Now, you don't want to give it to your enemy or your frenemy, or you don't want to give it to somebody in your family who's a little shady, or they don't, they're not responsible. But you want to give it to your spouse, maybe even your attorney. You want to give it to whoever it is that you want to be there for you, that is trustworthy. You need to let them have a copy or let them know where it is. And so the letter of instruction also goes into detail on things that wouldn't be considered appropriate or added into your will, but are necessary. So who your doctors are, what minister you want to preside over your funeral if you have one. It talks about, things that if you want somebody to have your favorite pair of earrings, or you want, it's your intention that you donate your organs, but you really didn't want to sign the back of your license and things like that, then it explains all of that. But it also makes you think through what all you have. It also makes you think through what all you have and think through what you want. And the reason I give out letters of instruction is I want it to be easy enough for you all to talk to your family about some of this stuff. Because what also happens is nobody wants to talk about the fact that we're going to die, even though we all die. And nobody wants to think about that, think about their demise, but you never know when it's coming. It could be COVID, it could be cancer, it could be getting hit by a bus, or it could be sitting up on your couch and you just decide it's your time to go. And so this document will help you think through what you need to tell your family and how they can find what you need. And it goes down, yes, even with passwords. It's all of that will be in one place. And so it is a document you want to protect, but it's good to have it out there. All right. So who all knows the story of Humpty Dumpty? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Yeah, well, Humpty may have died, or he may just be incapacitated. One thing that we also don't think about is what happens if we have medical issues and what happens if we become incapacitated. I've known people who have been in comas as a young person, stayed in a coma for a while, and then came out of their coma. But they never expected to go into a coma in the first place. I had a family member here recently who just had a baby, and she was smart enough before she had a baby that she was like, Humpty Dumpty could have had insurance, right? She was smart enough that she asked for a power of attorney and her health surrogate documents before she went in, even to just to have a baby. And it was her, what, fifth child that she was having. So, and she's young, she's under the age of 40, but she was smart enough to be like, okay, I need to make sure I have these things in place. So your power of attorney, if you don't know what a power of attorney is, essentially you're giving somebody the authority to act as your agent or your attorney in fact. A power of attorney only gives power, however, while you're alive. And the power of attorney can be where it is active immediately, or it can be what is called a springing power of attorney, that it doesn't actually go into effect until certain events happen. So if you become incapacitated, you're in a coma. If for some reason you got to be put under for surgery, it could be active while you're in surgery and you're out of it. If you need to leave the country, you can put it, that could be part of what when you give somebody a power of attorney. But what most people don't realize is the power of attorney dies when you die. You don't have power to say what is going to happen to your stuff or how you want your affairs handled through a power of attorney once you pass away. That's why we have the other tools. The other thing about Humpty Dumpty is with Humpty Dumpty, when he fell off the wall, he probably had some medical issues too. I would like to think he had some mental issues for being on the wall in the first place. But that's another thing that people don't consider. They think about their parents getting older and passing away, but don't think about it, getting older and starting to have Alzheimer's or starting to have medical issues that may make it so that you cannot make decisions and take care of yourself. So that if Humpty Dumpty, not only did he need insurance, Humpty Dumpty should have had healthcare surrogate appointed, which is sometimes called a medical power of attorney and an advanced health directive. So the healthcare surrogate forms basically allow somebody the power over your medical decisions for you. So it's just like a power of attorney, but they stand in your place, and you should let your surrogate know, hey, if I ever get into a situation where I need a decision made, these are kind of the things that I want to have happen. An advanced health directive works in tandem with that. So an advanced health directive usually will speak to certain situations. So that would be if it usually speaks to, if you're incapacitated, do you want water provided to you? Do you want food provided to you? Do you want medicine to make you more comfortable, such as pain relief? Do you want them to resuscitate you if you start to pass away? Do you want to be on oxygen or any kind of machinery to keep you alive? Usually, the Advanced Health Directive will talk about those things. But what if it is you're incapacitated or you have Alzheimer's and you have cancer, and there is a treatment that is 55 or 60% valuable, or 55 or 60% effective? Do you get it or not? Well, a lot of times your Advanced Health Directive does not speak to that. That's why you have a healthcare surrogate appointed. So with the healthcare surrogate, if you have given them that authority, they have the power to say, hey, we looked at the statistics. I hear what you say, doctor, and I think that you should go ahead and give them this treatment, or I think that they would want to have this treatment done or withheld. All right. So those are other things that you need to consider, not just a will. Then you have the old lady who lived in a shoe. She had so many kids, she didn't know what to do. When she passes away, what is she going to do with all those kids, right? A lot of times we don't consider, but you need to consider, if you have kids, you're trying to have kids, especially if they're under the age of 18, you need to make sure that you know what it will happen to your kids, who will get custody. Now, if you just hate your ex-spouse or your baby daddy or your baby mama, you can't always use this to circumvent them from getting your kids, but you can speak to how you want your kids to be taken care of. Or maybe you're like Jack and Jill. Maybe Jack and Jill were married and they weren't brother and sister. Jack and Jill went up the hill to catch a pail of water. Jack fell down and Jill came tumbling after, right? I know that's not the exact wording, but what happens when both parents die or both parents become incapacitated? I've had cases. I had one case where it was a family from Georgia that came to visit family in Louisville, in Kentucky, where I'm from and where I was practicing at the time. They get into a car wreck. The one parent dies. The other parent's in a coma. The baby is okay, but who takes the baby? They were young. They were in their 20s. So they weren't thinking, oh my gosh, what happens to our child if we can't take care of our kid, or if both or one of us passes away? You ended up having two sets of grandparents arguing over this kid. One set never knew the kid, but they were closer. The other set was always there, and the kid had a relationship, and it was just a bad situation all around because nobody considered. So whether it is, I would say, do more than just a letter of instruction, but this is something that is outside of or can be part of your will or your estate plan that you need to be considering. You also, with Jack and Jill, I always joke around. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. If Jack and Jill had a business and they fell down the hill and met their demise and they passed away, or they were severely injured, what happens to their business? What happens to the hard water company that they put together? Who's going to bottle their water, right? Nobody thinks about that usually. But business succession planning is essentially estate planning for your business. And it's not just if you pass away. If you are in a partnership with someone and you end up passing away, the partner that you have essentially gets a new business partner, which will be your spouse. If you don't like your business partner's spouse, or maybe they have no clue how the business works, and I've even seen it where it was an estranged spouse who hated the business. Well, guess what? If you're partners and you're 50-50 and you didn't have a succession plan for your business, guess what? that business partner that you just inherited that hates your business has as much say so over your business because you and your partner didn't plan. So you have to also think about that, right? You don't want to be like Little Bo Peep and lose your sheep because Little Bo Peep lost her sheep. She couldn't find the sheep. Well, when you don't have a plan, the government will come in and take your stuff, or the government can come in and tell you what to do with your stuff. And so when that happens, if you don't have anything in place, then your case automatically will end up in probate. And even if you don't have very much, maybe you have a $10,000 estate or you have a car and some clothes and an apartment. Even if you have a minimal amount of stuff, you got to have somebody who knows what to do with your stuff, or you got to have some way to let people know what to do with your stuff, even if it's that little bit amount. Because if you don't have something in place, you end up having to go through probate court. A lot of times you'll hear about people trying to avoid probate court, and it isn't always bad. But when you have probate court, and you have to probate an estate, then you're allowing the court to have some kind of say so over what happens to your stuff. If you have a will, or you have an estate plan in place, then when you die testate. That means you have everything in place. If you die intestate, it means you don't have anything together. If you don't have anything together, then the statutes of your state or your jurisdiction rule, and the judges can apply that however they want. If you don't have somebody appointed as an executor or an administrator over your estate, then the court can come in and get a third party who isn't in your family, who doesn't respect or care about your millions that you should be having, and they get to basically disperse or dispense anything that you owned how they see fit. So if you had a sister and you didn't like them, and you had a brother that you love, it doesn't matter. They'll say who gets what. They can also sell your stuff. They can also sell your stuff, but they can also require that that through your estate, that the administrator that they appoint gets a percentage of your estate as their payment for doing what they want to do with your stuff. And I don't know about you, but I work hard for mine, and I want my stuff to go where I say. And I always joke around. I'm like, I don't want a funeral, and if you give me one, I'm gonna haunt you. But I can't be mad if people are doing with my stuff, my body, my possessions, what I don't want them to do if I didn't plan for it. And neither can you. All right. So we've talked about the will. We've talked about a letter of instruction. I've told you what probate court is in an unorthodox manner. There are also non-probate stuff. So somebody also talked about Humpty Dumpty should have had an insurance policy. Well, so should Jack and Jill. So should the little old lady in the shoe and all of that. You need an insurance policy, not just for your family to bury you, because most times, I joke around, but it's not funny. Many times we sell t-shirts and we try to have bake sales and fish fries and GoFundMe. GoFundMe is not an insurance policy, people. It is not a part of estate planning. We have to do better. So don't wait and leave your family in a position where they're trying to scrounge and figure out how they're going to bury you and how they're going to, how they're going to even get you in the ground. Don't leave it to Yolanda. Yolanda Spavy is actually my insurance lady. But don't get to the point where where they're having to struggle to figure out how to put you in the ground. If nothing else, have a small policy that will handle that. Because when you have to get the casket, the funeral home, and all of that, a lot of times people end up having IOUs and loans and things like that just to pay the funeral home, to get your casket and have your little bitty service. That's not fair. It's not fair. So if nothing else, get you a little $10,000 policy that will cover, at least that part. But really, you should have insurance on your business. You should have insurance on you, life insurance, to take care of your loved ones, especially if you have kids, or to give them a little something to survive after you are gone. Okay. And you should also have insurance on your business in case something happens. You should also have insurance, mortgage insurance. You should also have insurance that when you pass away, it pays off your house so the house doesn't get taken out from under your family and things like that. Now, an insurance policy is what's called a non-probate asset, right? That means the probate court doesn't get to say. What the probate court can do is they can dispense your belongings if you have a will, and your will tells them what you want to go where. And then if there's anything left over that you didn't specify, then the judge or your administrator or executor can figure that out based on their best judgment. If you don't have that, everything goes to probate court. But if you have an insurance policy, and then there's some other things that are non-probate assets. But if you have an insurance policy, the insurance policy says who gets the money, how they get it, and it says how much they get. It dictates it all unto itself. But you also got to let people know that where the insurance is, where the documents are, what kind of insurance you have. So that goes back to your letter of instruction as well. And it's not that you have to have one or the other. Really, with an estate plan, it is truly a package deal. It's a plan. So you got to think about how all of this works together. Now, that brings me to Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So y'all know there was a little blonde haired chick that shows up. She sees the brown bears. She realized that they have millions and they have their little nice house, right? What does she do? She breaks in. Karen. She breaks in, and when she breaks in, she realizes there's a big chair, a little chair, and a medium chair. There's a big bowl of porridge, a medium bowl of porridge, and a little bowl of porridge, and she makes herself at home. But she notices, like, this chair don't feel right. It's too soft. This one's too hard. This one's big. This one's just right. That's how estate planning is. What works for mom and them, what works for Joe down at the barber shop, what your sister did may not work for you, okay? You need to make sure that your estate plan is planned for you. That's also why I gave you the disclaimer. I'm giving you all examples. I'm trying to drop knowledge so that you can start thinking, okay, well, I got this insurance policy and I have a will, but how does this work together? Does that cover X, Y, and Z? So you got to know this stuff. The other, I'm trying to think, I lost my train of thought because I've made myself laugh with a thought I had in my head. Oh, there we go. So everything is not going to be the equal for other people. You got to know what works for you. You got to think through it. I got another good one for you. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle. Here is my spout. I did it opposite because of my mic. Okay, so the little teapot represents what I'm going to introduce you to, which is having a trust and a pour over will. So a trust is another non-probate asset protection vehicle. Trust can be very complicated. People always ask me, well, do you do an X, Y, and Z trust? And I tell people this, a trust does not matter. It doesn't matter with a trust, what the trust is called, it's what it does. And you got to make sure that the trust does what you intended for it to do. The same thing with a will. I've had people try to write their spouse out of their will or write somebody out of their will, not realizing that if they did that the way that the laws are set up in their area, they actually ended up giving them everything. True story. I've actually had that happen. People trying to write their spouse or somebody out of their will who they couldn't write out of their will, and it did the opposite of what they were trying to do. I have a client, well, I have a friend. I hope she's not watching. Well, you know what? I'm transparent and I'm crazy, you all. So if I tell a story, it's the same thing I would say in your face. So I have this friend who is what I call an ask hoe. Okay. And I'm not going to say her name, but she's an ask hoe. She'll call every single time, see what kind of free advice she'll get. How can I do X, Y, and Z? I'll tell her, she'll do the opposite. She'll fudge it up, and then she'll come back and be like, can you fix it? And then when I say I'm gonna fix it, I tell her, no, you needed to do this, this, and that. And then she'll go back and try to not pay me, but do it herself. She's an asshole, right? This friend decided, she asked me to do her estate plan. I gave her pennies on the dollar because sometimes estate plan attorneys can be really high. I tried not to be because I realized that we as Black people need it, right? So she was trying to do a trust for her elderly parent who was sick. She did the trust for him, and then she didn't know what she was doing. So she left stuff out of the trust, you all. He didn't have a will. All he had was this trust. So guess what? It got to go to probate anyway. So what you were trying to do in avoiding probate, you ended up doing the exact opposite because you didn't know what you were doing. So trust can be great, but they can also be complicated, and you have to know what you're doing. So what is a trust? A trust is essentially it's a document. It's like having a purse, or I'm going to use my glasses case. It's like having a glasses case and you put everything in it. You no longer own whatever you put in it. The glasses case or the trust owns whatever it is that you put in it. There is a piece of paper that goes with it. You hand it over to somebody else to hold, somebody that you trust. They become your trustee. The trustee has an instruction paper, which is a trust documents that says what they can do with the stuff that you put in your trust. They can't do anything more than what that document gives them power to do. The great thing about it is, unlike a power of attorney, the trust lives and remains after you pass away. And so with that trust, it also can protect the people who are your beneficiaries. You can be a beneficiary of the trust while you're alive, and the trust can also be passed down from generation to generation. The beautiful thing about that is Uncle Sam, remember I told you, you get a little bit, he wants some, you get a little bit more, he wants some more, you get a lot, he's like trying to do you like this, right? He wants it all. Well, with a trust, it actually protects your property, and it can minimize or eliminate taxes that are levied or that are assessed on transfers of wealth. So it is a very powerful tool, but usually when I teach classes, that's the more advanced class because it can be complicated and you have to make sure that you do it the right way. Well, remember I told you about the pour over, the teapot. There, if you have a trust and you put everything in trust, just like the friend, she didn't put certain pieces, like she didn't put houses into the trust. And so when her dad died, she was in a position that, Dad, you mean I gotta go to probate anyway because I didn't put everything in there? Well, if you have a will, that is what's called a pour over. You can do it one of two ways. The most common way is you put everything in trust and you do a will that will speak to whatever wasn't in the trust, but you can also do it vice versa. The most common way though is you have the trust and then you have the pour over to handle whatever didn't get put in the trust. It doesn't handle, again, the insurance because that stands alone, but it does help with the things that you may have forgot about or the things that you may have acquired later. That brings me to black sheep. Now, they always, Black sometimes has a bad connotation. I think Black is beautiful and Black. I love to be in the black on my money and my accounts, right? Bye bye, black sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. He planned. He had some for over here, some from over there, some for over here. So the black sheep was a good estate planner. The black sheep knew, okay, I'm going to put some away for this. I'm going to put some away for that. I'm going to put some away for this. That's what I want you all to be. Bye bye, black sheep. The millionaires, the one that's sitting back chilling with all the wool and all the assets and everything is in order and in place. And there, and you specified where you wanted to go, and your money is not all, my legal term, all willy-nilly, right? So that brings me to this. Hickory dickory dot, the mouse ran up the clock struck one, and then down the mouse run. The clock is always ticking. Don't waste time. You don't have time, right? You don't have time to waste. We all will die and you don't know. Yep, Robin is like, secure your bags. We work hard to get what we have. And one of the things that I hate seeing happen in Kentucky, I was what's called a warning order attorney. And a warning order attorney, we would have to find people that potentially had interest in property that were either being foreclosed on or were being sold. And so what ends up happening is, you know, mom dies, nobody takes care of her property, or she didn't have an estate, you don't know where everything is. If they just give her a fine because the grass wasn't cut and you're not up on your stuff, then the estate, basically the house, Big Mama's house that you grew up in and you played in the backyard, guess what? Somebody's going to get it for $500 at an auction, or they're going to get it for pennies on the dollar because you didn't do what you were supposed to, or she didn't do what she was supposed to do and you didn't. If you have elderly parents, if you have loved ones and you really truly love them, everything that you're learning today, you need to learn more, and you need to take it to them and be like, hey, we got to get this together, because I don't want the next generation to not have what we worked hard for. And that's not just with your house, but that's your business, your car, everything. So many times you see families that are divided because somebody didn't do it. It's called generational wealth for a reason. We wanted to pass from generation to generation to generation. Not, I'm going to earn it, and when I die, it goes away. And then the next person earns my kid earns his, and when he dies, it goes away, and we have to keep starting over. We'll never have that compounding interest. We'll never have that compound or snowball effect on our money if we just let it go and it's not important. That's another thing. You need to get all your kids, get all your monkeys that are jumping on the bed. I laugh because with that, I jump on the bed with my grandkid. But that's the first thing I do when I check in a hotel. I get 2 beds, one so I can jump and the other one so I can sleep, because I'm a big kid. But get your kids, tell them stop jumping on the bed and pull them over. Even if they're young, start teaching them about wealth, maintaining their wealth, how to protect and keep the wealth that you build and you're going to give to them, so that they will understand that it's important. If I worked hard for it, I'm working for it because I love you and I want you to have a better future. So when I give it to you, I need you to know that it's important and that you need to love the next generation enough to protect it and keep passing it down. Period. The other thing is, there was little Miss Muffet who sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider and sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away, right? I tell you that one because of this. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. A lot of times people don't do their estate planning because they feel like they're overwhelmed. It's too much. One of the reasons I'm telling you all of these kid rhymes and all of these nursery rhyme stories is to let you know that it shouldn't be scared. It shouldn't be scary. You shouldn't be scared. It's not a time to be scared. You wouldn't be scared to be a millionaire, would you? You wouldn't be scared to have money to have the lifestyle to do what you want to do. This is just part of it. And if you don't know, at least now you know a little bit of an overview of estate planning and why it's important and some of the tools that come along with estate planning. And I hope that you take it and you take it and you think about it, that the letter of instruction that I give you, that you take it and you really fill it out. It may take you an hour or less to do it, and you may not do it all in one setting, but I guarantee you that one document, if you don't do anything else, will help you in your estate planning. And then one step further, I teach in the Black Business School. I've done class after class on this. There's always changes that happens, and whether or not you like Trump or not, there are things that went into play while he was in office and even right before that change how estate planning is done. And he wanted to protect all of his friends who had money in his money, right? We talk about loopholes in the tax code and loopholes in the law. There are no loopholes. There is laws that somebody wrote that got enacted, and the smart people use those to keep their wealth, build their wealth, and to benefit them and their families. So when you know better, you got to do better. But the first part is to find out, to get the knowledge so that you can know better and so that you can do better. So I also have other products and stuff that will help you, including like estate planning questionnaire that you can fill out. That's a little bit, it's a lot shorter than what a letter of instruction template is, but then you can go through and start thinking through with that so that you can take it to an attorney so that you can get your affairs in order. I caution you on one other thing, okay? The other thing that I caution you on is this. There are a ton of platforms out there called, like LegalZoom and things like that. And I believe everything has its place. If you cannot afford an attorney, but you have to do something, it is okay to use one of those. I said it. I said it. I am a Judas attorney because, like I said at the beginning, attorneys are doctors of law. And there's some things that you can do. If my 6-year-old grandson gets a boo-boo and comes in and says, Nana, it hurts, I'm going to wipe it off with some peroxide, put some Neosporin on it, kiss it, tell him love heals, and put a Band-Aid on it. But if he breaks that leg, we're going to the doctor. But here's the other thing. If I have access in the money and and he means a lot to me, I'm still going to take him to the doctor when I need to make sure that they check over. So if I feel like, we'll give COVID as an example. He comes in and he's coughing. I might give him some allergy medicine, or I might give him some Dimetapp or whatever for kids. If it persists, I love him enough to take him to go get a COVID test or to take him to the hospital when it looks like it may not be clearing up. It's the same thing with LegalZoom. If that's all you can afford, that's fine. But what I can tell you is this. I know people who have used LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer and those kind of things, and they thought that they were doing one thing. They ended up with something else, and they ended up in a worse situation. And if nothing else, this is how I'm going to tell you to help yourself. If you cannot do it, if you cannot, or you feel like you can't afford an attorney to do it for you, write it out. If you do the Rocket Lawyer or LegalZoom, that's fine. Even prepaid legal, whatever, it's fine. But what I beg you to do afterwards is at least pay for 1 hour at a time to sit down with an attorney, tell them what you were trying to do, have them review the document, and tell you if what you thought you were doing is what you really did, is what it's supposed to say. And here's the other thing. God is the only thing that's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Yes, I'm a Christian attorney on top of that. So there's my preaching for Sunday. But laws change, life changes, and your circumstance changes. Don't This is not a one-time fix it and forget it. So just like the one family friend who was like a father to me, he passed away. They couldn't find his will. They found the one from 2001, and I had talked to him months before he died, so I know he updated it. It doesn't help, one, if nobody knows where it is, but two, if 2001 was the last will that they found, that means he lived for 20 years and didn't do another will. You have to, I suggest at least every 2 years. But if you get married, you have a new grandbaby, you have a new kid, your mom, your dad, your siblings, one of them passes away, that should be your cue that it's time to go up and re-up your or update your estate plan, your will, your documents, check and make sure that everything is still okay. And like I said, laws change. So the amount that you may be able to give to one of your children without having to pay estate taxes or whatever could change. And it usually does every year, every couple of years. So you also want to make sure that you're taking full advantage of all of those loopholes that are really just laws that are there. And your thing isn't so old that it doesn't make sense and it does not correspond with how the laws are at this time. So, and then they lived happily ever after. And that's when I would kiss him on the head and tell him, go to bed. No, you can't have another cup of water. And no, you can't go to the restroom. You already went 5 times. Hey, Julius.
What's up? How you doing?
So you know I'm crazy. I hope that helps.
It does help. Did that help, y'all? Did that help? Let Nicole know in the chat. Did that help?
Thank you. So I usually have my GIF pictures in my little clips and stuff.
Yes.
So instead, y'all just get to see my ugly mug. But hey,
get out of here. Nobody can tell you a grandma. Nobody can tell you a grandma. How old are they?
Actually, so originally I was going to do a PowerPoint and then I decided not to. But I have a picture of them plotting to take over the world. I'll show you in a second.
All right.
But they are 6. Abel, I call him Ace. That's the one I have custody of. I just try to transition him back to my son so that I can live my life. And then my son ended up getting married to someone else. And so the other grandbaby, her name is Elise, and she will be 3 in March. Where did my picture? Okay, here it is. Okay. Did it go to a blank screen?
Yeah.
There they are.
Yeah.
That was them trying to take over the world. They were sitting in the living room and I looked over like, wait a minute, what are y'all were talking about? You see, they got the little light shining. Yeah, they were like, what are we going to do today, brain?
Yeah, well, thank you, brain. Yes. I love it. I love it.
Take over the world. But those are my heart. That's my heart. And that, Jamila is why I started doing estate planning. But then when I got custody of my grandson, at the time, his dad was on heroin. His mom was on heroin. She ended up overdosing and dying, and my son got clean. But when they were in the thick of things, that was when I was like, wait a minute. If I pass away and they can't take care of him and I have full custody, what's going to happen? I had to think about who's going to take care of him. And, is he going to be able to afford to have anything? Will he go into care? And while everybody's situation is not the same as mine, if you have loved ones, even if it's just a spouse or your mom and dad, this is things that we need to think about. I mean, we gotta do better, man. I mean, we just do. And I think in other cultures, they automatically teach their kids about this stuff, and we don't. And we don't always. My parents They didn't teach me to be a homeowner, even though they were. They didn't. My dad never taught us about stocks, and then come to find out, that's how my granddad retired, and he had wealth. He had wealth. He was, he was smart about his. So I just want us to be smart too.
100%. So we have some questions. I know we're running up on the end of the conference. I'm going to take these 4 questions and I'll let you do them rapid fire. The first one is Tafara. She said, can 2 people share the responsibility of being a healthcare surrogate or hold the medical power of attorney? Can 2 people do it?
You can, and I don't agree that you should. This is why. It's hard for 2 people, husband and wife, to always agree on something.
Agree on dinner.
Right. On simple stuff. So the reason you have, a healthcare surrogate is to streamline and make things better. But if you give somebody 50-50, then that doesn't work, because then they, what if one person says put them on a machine and the other one doesn't? Yeah. You don't want to do that. The way that you do it is you do alternates. Even with power of attorney, you can do an alternate power of attorney. So you can have it where this is my designated attorney. In fact, they're going to be my agent to take care of X, Y, and Z. And if they don't want to do it, or they are not alive anymore, or they can't do it, then here's my alternate. Or you can have the, and with healthcare, I wouldn't say do this. But you can also have it with your regular power of attorney, where this person handles financial and this person maybe handles the kids, or, something like that. That may work.
Okay, great. And Otto said, how often should I update my will or my insurance policies?
Insurance policies, you don't necessarily have to do as often, unless you're going to get a new one or up the amount you have. Right. What I would say though is, with your estate plan, major life changes for sure. If you get married, you get divorced, definitely. If you move, if you get more property, like you buy another house, or you get you're getting investment property, which I hope they are, then every time that you do that, you need to be adding and considering that. And then if none of those major changes seem like they're happening, which is not really common, at least every 2 years, go back and look at it. You might not have to change it, but if you realize, okay, well, I still have the same car, still have the same house, everything's spoken for as it's written, then you should be okay.
Perfect. And when do you recommend putting a home in a trust?
Everybody is different. So it depends on why you're doing it. And the other thing is, it matters if you own it right out versus you have a mortgage. Right. Many mortgage companies don't want you to put it in trust, because why? It protects it, especially if it's a blind trust and it hides it. Yeah. They don't want that, because they have a financial interest in that property. Right. So if that's something, that's why trusts are more complicated. You really got to know what that person's intent is, like why they're putting it in trust. There's sometimes that you put it in trust so that it's protected if you have to have, like if your parents are starting to age and they own their home, you don't want Medicare to take it away if they have to go into a nursing home or get help and things like that.
Yeah. And what are the typical fees for like an estate plan? I know they vary by state.
It does vary by state. And here's the other thing. Attorneys can choose what they charge. Right. And that's why I said I try to keep my fees pretty low, because I do it because that's not my main income, and that's more of my act of love. I got to pay my staff. I got to pay the office fees and things like that. So I don't do it for free always. Right. But if you're doing a simple power of attorney, you could be, if you're only doing like a power of attorney, a couple $100. If you're doing a simple will that just is vague, it's not very detailed, you're not moving a lot of stuff around, you can also do that for under 500, depending on where you live as well. Because there's some place, like I've lived in South Florida, I've lived between South Florida and Kentucky for the last decade. Florida, you're going to pay about $400, $500 an hour. Kentucky, you may pay $200 an hour. Yeah, and then it also becomes whether or not how long they practice, if that's their area, how experienced they are as to what it is. If you're gonna do a trust and somebody does a trust for you for $200 or $300, you probably want to run. A trust, you're probably looking at about 1,500 to 2,000 at the least,
Yeah.
and that is because there's a lot more steps than just a will.
Yeah. Understood. And they want to know what your contact information is and how to get the freebies.
Okay, so let me see. I'm gonna send you. I may go off screen for a second.
That's fine.
I am going to put. I can put it in the chat. A
Yeah.
link um to give them a freebie for the estate.
The template.
Yep. So give me a second. I'm trying to log in, and then I'll just copy and paste it. Because I think on my pages, it's actually hidden if you don't have the link. And so I feel like I've been in the process of streamlining everything I do now for like the last the last year or two. But if you need to contact me for like if you have questions or you need estate planning, it's nicolecompton.as.me.
Yeah.
If that helps. So here's the deal. I'm licensed in Kentucky and federally. I also have access to a lot of great Black legal talent, and I'm building every day. And so if I don't practice in your state, I can at least try to get you to somebody who can help you. And there's the link for that link takes you directly to the letter of instruction.
Okay.
Federally licensed, Catherine, means that I can practice in any state in federal court. So if it is a federal issue like immigration, bankruptcy, administrative stuff, then I can do those. I do help people with estate planning, even if I am not in their state, but then I'll try to help them to get to who they need,
Okay.
at least to review. So just like with LegalZoom, I can sit down with you, talk through it, give you some pointers as to what to ask an attorney in your state. And with some people, I may even do the documents for them with the understanding that they're going to talk to somebody in their state just to make sure. Because out of 50 states, laws change in every 50 state, in all 50 states every year. Every year.
Understood. So. Yeah, 100%. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Nicole, we say thank you again for coming by, pulling up on us and sharing all your wisdom. How many years of experience?
Oh my God, you're making me feel old. I think it's 15 this year.
15.
Celebrate 15.
As a licensed?
As a licensed practicing attorney. I left corporate America. I didn't go back. I do help small businesses. I've worked in legal departments in corporate America on contract, but I like being in the community, and I like seeing my brothers and sisters get one, get that wealth, and then two, keep it and start businesses. So beautiful. I'm here for you guys for that reason.
Well, we appreciate you so much, and I'm sure you'll be back next year. And so thank you.
Hopefully I'll get better every year. I'm like fine wine, maybe.
Hey, there we go. Somebody said you look like Janet Jackson. Did you heard that before?
I get that. I think it's the cheeks and the smile.
Cheekbones.
Yeah. I mean, she's gorgeous. If that's the case, can I have some Janet Jackson money with that?
Hey. Hear you. Cool. Well, thank you. Go take care of them little ones, and we will see you soon, all right?
All right. Thank you. Bye, you all. Be blessed.